On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
The story of this one big beautiful bill is really a story about the Republican Party. And I think some Republicans voted for this bill despite their own personal preferences. So some people may have been sort of individual losers, if you will, perhaps people who are concerned about the size of the national debt, but voted for this bill anyway, largely because of their loyalty to Donald Trump. There's also some Republicans who are more moderate, who are concerned about cutting Medicaid benefits, and they still cast a vote for this bill. So I think there might be some specific Republican politicians who might come to regret this vote. But I think this is ultimately a victory for Donald Trump. Democrats, of course, will paint this as a loss for Americans as a whole. They will point to the price tag of this bill, estimated to be around $3.5 trillion of new debt on top of the large debt that we already have as a country. They'll also paint this as a loss for poorer Americans, for working class Americans who rely on things like SNAP or Medicaid. So I think that's likely to be a large part of Democrats' messaging as they seek to win back the House and perhaps the Senate in the 2026 midterms. There's a lot of attention on this bill about what it does in the sort of immediate sense. So the extension of the tax cuts from 2017, the introduction of this provision of no taxes on tips or overtime up to a certain point. But I think people are perhaps ignoring the potential effects of this bill on the overall fiscal health of the nation. So this adds quite a bit of money to the national debt. This is something that Republicans in particular struggled with. The Republican Party oftentimes paints itself as the party of fiscal responsibility. And so lots of Republicans who are admittedly concerned about the size of the national debt really took a tough vote here in voting to support something that will actually increase rather than decrease the size of the national debt. And so I think that's going to be a really interesting political dynamic. I think there's a chance that this bill could hurt Republicans in the 2026 election. I think Democrats are going to do everything they can to make sure that this bill does hurt Republicans in the 2026 election. I think Democrats are going to adopt a bit of a populist message themselves, saying that Republicans are extending taxes and giving new taxes to the wealthiest Americans while hurting the medical benefits for poorer Americans. And so I think that is a political tactic that is likely to be successful for Democrats. I think lots of Republicans are aware that this is a likely political attack that they'll face. And I suspect that there will be some Republicans who lose their seat in Congress over this vote. Ultimately, who's declared to be the winner in terms of this one big beautiful bill is something that we're going to have to wait and see. I think both Republicans and Democrats are very eager to begin selling this to their constituents. Republicans are going to try to run on this bill's tax cuts. They're going to say that this is giving more money to Americans. Democrats are going to paint this as a giveaway to the wealthiest Americans that is paid for in part by cutting benefits to the poorest Americans. And so I think the real political struggle over how this bill is sold to Americans is going to be one of the most important things to watch as we move closer and closer to the 2026 midterm elections.